Some stories don't just scare you, they crawl under your skin and just stay there. And today we are diving into one of those stories. It's a piece of pure psychological horror from a user named Blue Title called The Smiling Man. And it is a chilling reminder that sometimes the most terrifying things are the ones we just can't explain. Imagine the comfort of your city at night. For 5 years, this was the narrator's reality. And for 4 of those years, he felt completely safe, walking down totally empty streets without a single reason in the world to be afraid. The night wasn't scary. It was his sanctuary. But that sense of safety, the kind that's built up over 4 long years, it was about to be completely, totally shattered. One single encounter, lasting just a few minutes, would completely redefine his understanding of fear and would haunt him for the rest of his life. To really feel the terror of what happened, you have to understand the deep, profound peace he felt before all this. He was a night person, and he found this real solace in the quiet solitude of his walks through the sleeping city. Every night, his routine was pretty much the same. Once his roommate was asleep, he'd just step out into the quiet streets. For him, the empty city wasn't scary at all. It was a source of comfort. It was a space where he could just walk and think and just be alone. And this was his ritual for 4 long years. He felt so secure that he'd actually joke with his roommate that the city was safer after dark, that even the drug dealers were more polite. But that feeling of being untouchable, well, that was about to be shattered. Then came one particular Wednesday night. It was late, somewhere between 1 and 2 in the morning, and the streets were just eerily silent. And that's when he saw it, a lone silhouette, way down at the other end of the street. At first, it just looked like a person dancing, but it was this strange kind of disjointed waltz. And with every bizarre step, the figure took this long, loping stride forward, steadily closing the distance. The narrator's first thought was simple enough. Just some drunk person, right? But as the figure got closer, the details started to come into focus, and this deep sense of unease began to creep in. He was tall, thin, almost unnaturally lanky, and his posture was just wrong. His head was tilted all the way back, with his eyes wide open, staring wildly up into the night sky. And then he saw the smile. And it wasn't a happy smile. No, it was painfully wide, stretched like some grotesque cartoon, completely and totally unnatural. And that's when instinct just took over. The narrator immediately crossed the street, trying to put as much distance as he could between them. So he crosses to the other side of the road, putting some space between himself and this smiling man. He walked about half a block, his eyes absolutely fixed on the strange figure who had now stopped dancing. And then he glanced forward for just 2 seconds to check his path. When he looked back, the man was gone. For just a split second, there was relief. And then pure terror. The man was now on his side of the street, crouched low to the ground. In the 2 seconds he'd looked away, the man had somehow silently crossed the entire road. He was just there, staring. Frozen in shock, all our narrator could do was stare. And then the smiling man started moving toward him again. But the dancing? Oh, that was gone. This was something new. Something much, much worse. He moved like a cartoon character brought to life, but in the most terrifying way. He took these giant, exaggerated tiptoe steps, lifting his knees way up high. But despite how bizarre it looked, he was closing the distance with an impossible speed. He finally stopped just a car's length away, still smiling, still staring up at the sky. And it's right here, in this terrifying standoff on a dead silent street, that the whole encounter shifts. The quiet menace is about to erupt into a full-blown, terrifying chase. The narrator finally found his voice, or so he thought. He tried to yell, to sound commanding, to ask what the hell the guy wanted. But what came out wasn't a shout. It was just this weak, terrified whimper. All his fear was now completely exposed. And to his absolute surprise, the man didn't react at all. He just stood there, smiling. Then, very slowly, he turned around and began to dance walk away, just like he had before. A huge wave of relief just washed over the narrator. It was over. But it wasn't. It wasn't over. The narrator watched him go, not daring to turn his back. And in the distance, the figure stopped moving away. It stopped dancing. And then, something horrifying happened. His shape seemed to distort, to grow larger, and then he turned and sprinted, silently and at full speed, directly back at him. No thought, no strategy, just pure primal instinct. He turned and he ran. He ran harder than he had ever run in his entire life, his lungs searing, his legs just screaming in protest. He didn't dare slow down, didn't dare to even think about the silent, smiling man sprinting somewhere behind him. The dark, empty streets he once found so comforting were now just a terrifying maze. He kept running, tears blurring his vision, until he finally burst out onto a brighter, main street with a few cars passing, and only then did he risk a glance behind him. There was no one there. The smiling man had simply vanished. So the chase was over. He was physically safe. But the real horror? Oh, that was just beginning. Because even though he'd escaped the street, that fear followed him all the way home. He didn't stop running until he was inside his apartment. He slammed the door, locked it, then he checked the lock again. He checked every single window. And then the adrenaline finally faded, and he just collapsed on the floor, shaking and sobbing. He stayed in that city for another 6 months, but he never took another walk at night. Ever. His sanctuary had been stolen from him, and in its place was the haunting memory of those wild eyes, that impossibly wide smile, and the question that would never, ever leave him. How could a person move like that? How could his shape seem to distort in the darkness? And that's where the story just leaves us. It offers zero answers, only questions that linger in the dark. So I'll leave you with the same question the original storyteller posed. Was he a madman? Something supernatural? What do you think? Who was that smiling man?